It's not clear at first whether this is a comedy or a tragedy. I think it's probably both. It is comedic how the Pharisees are portrayed as so deeply dense, so impenetrable to truth, to insight, to revelation. It's almost comedic. But it's also tragic. It's tragic because the man who had been born blind, who was trying to tell people what had happened to him, was not a person that they could hear. They talk about him and over him and around him as if he were not there. Maybe you have been talked over or about or around. Maybe you can identify in some way with this man and his predicament. I know we would like to think that the stupidity of the Pharisees is something we are immune to, but we are not. I think in so many ways, we are afraid of difference. Just as the man who was born blind was seen as a sinner in his world, we have versions of that in our world. I think so much about folks who have the incredible courage to come out as transgender or queer or non-binary. And I've heard so many times people say, how do they really know? Are they really sure? Like, really? And especially with the newer things around gender and younger people coming out, they're too young to know that. They couldn't possibly know that about themselves yet. Somebody's trying to tell us the truth about themselves, about what has been revealed to them, about what God has revealed to them, about who they are. And some of us have the audacity to say, not so sure. But maybe we also accept it at face value, but then they ask us to use different pronouns. And we say, I can't learn that. I can't learn to use new pronouns. When the Bible is rife with people changing their names. So many examples of people changing their names, but somebody wants different pronouns, and it's hard. It is hard. It takes practice, but it is achievable. You can learn to use they and them. You really can. What if we imagined the transgender person, the queer person, the non-binary person, the person whose gender we don't understand, rather than trying to put it in some container? What if we received that revelation as a gift from God, as a sign of God's healing in their life, that they are able to articulate who they are and that they're inviting others to join with them? Think about Tyler. I know a lot about Tyler, but not nearly enough. I learned a lot about him yesterday at his funeral. But what I do know is that Tyler was a 54-year-old bachelor, and that in our society, being a middle-aged bachelor is not something that gets you a lot of understanding or respect. What's wrong with him? Why can't he find a partner? We might not actually think those things, but those things are in the water, right? Why can't that person just be male or female? Why can't that person just find a partner? It's so easy to think these things. But I think there's an invitation here, an invitation to receive the difference of others as a revelation of God, as a sign of God's healing, and also to receive our own difference, those differences we hide, those differences that shame us, those differences that we imagine maybe no one could accept. It's an invitation to all of us to bring those things forth and to be a community where those things can be received, not with question after question, but with awe and gratitude and reverence. Church is also a place where people come when they have been wounded, when they have been sent away by the Pharisees. There are people here who are wounded. Tyler was wounded. I am wounded by so many previous experiences, and many of us come to church seeking healing. And so this is a place where people might show up after their encounter with the Pharisees. In our gospel story, when Jesus heard that they had driven him out, he followed him and he found him. He did not leave him alone. He followed him and he found him. I think all of us at times in our lives need to be followed and found by Jesus. And there's also a perpetual invitation before us to follow and find one another. No matter how closed off people might seem, most of us yearn to know and be known. And many of us decide to schlep our bodies into this place each week, maybe with the hope of a little bit more of that, to know and be known by God, but also by one another. And so as I read this text, it's, to me, an invitation to not talk over and around or about others, to not fear their difference, to not fear those parts of them we don't understand, and to not fear those parts of us that we do not understand, but to receive them as gifts of God, as signs of God's healing, moving us toward wholeness. To accept our differences and to accept one another's differences is a way of moving toward wholeness. And I don't mean sort of the thin acceptance of all are welcome here, which is good, it's a start, but all are welcome here and we'd like to know you and we'll try to understand and we'll try to use your pronouns and we'll try to celebrate with you when you have gender reassignment surgery and whatever. Can this be a place where that happens? It's what I think church should be. And I think we have so many of those gifts among us, but I think many of us are afraid. Many of us are afraid to reach out. To reach out. But just as you have yearned to be found, here come the kids. Hi, Cece. I often feel found by Cece. She makes us all feel welcome, doesn't she? Yeah, she does. Thanks, Cece. Yeah. I yearn for a community where the man born blind would be seen and received, where all of us, with all of our woundings, all of our disabilities, all of our imperfections, all of our everything, that this would be a place for that, where we would find Jesus and find one another and find healing. May it be so. Amen.